3, 4.
We just live right now, man. It's going down, excited for the season. You know, we coming off a playoff win. I mean, you know, we had a couple wins.
Hello and welcome to episode 221 of Dear Diaries, a Milwaukee Bucks podcast presented to you by us, the staff here at Brew Hoop. I am Kyle Carr. As you can see, I'm not at 100%. My voice has decided to come and go this past week, but I am joined by fellow co-host Jack. How's it going?
Doing okay, Kyle. It's always interesting doing a podcast like kind of right after a game because you're always like a little bit still hanging on to the feelings from the game, but 2-2 week, I really can't complain. 500 against some tough opponents, so I'm doing all right.
Yeah, it was an interesting week to say the least because it started off so well. Milwaukee Bucks beating the Indiana Pacers, thankfully, on a last-second shot by Giannis Antetokounmpo, so they win 117-115. And then the next day, they go to Toronto, get pretty much beat down pretty quickly, lose 128-100. And then they have the start of the NBA Cup on Friday. And that went all right. I think that was okay. Like, I think they did pretty well. They won 126-110, really started pulling away in the fourth quarter. And then we are recording this just hours after the game against the Houston Rockets, where they lost 122-115. So like Jack mentioned, it was a 2-2 week. I think most of us kind of expected that, but we were hoping for more. I don't even know which one to start because I feel like each game had a different story. But at the same time, I feel like the Pacers game and the Rockets game were the two where it's kind of like it could have easily like flipped. Like we could have been coming in here talking about how the Bucks blew the game against the Pacers, but then held on against the Rockets, and then it's actually vice versa. So, Jack, I'll let you start with what you learned this previous week in the 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, so my thing that I learned is that the Bucks are still beating themselves on the detail parts, like the little like 1% parts of the game that like you don't like the casual fan, if you're just turning on and you're not really following the team much, wouldn't notice. But it's like these are the parts that are like kind of getting us into foul trouble and allowing open shots and whatnot. And you can go a million different ways with this. When I was thinking about what to talk about on today's pod, my mind got racing in so many different areas. But the first kind of like detail, I just wanted to like single out some detail-oriented things that the Bucks just continue to like mess up with. And one of them is that the Bucks have a lot of guys right now who just don't want to play honest on-ball defense. And there's a lot of like reaching going on. And it's interesting because like you watch Gary Trent play defense and it's like, it just gives me anxiety every time I watch him play defense. Cause like in today's game, he actually stole the ball from KD a few times and you're like, oh, cool. But I think it's interesting in Australia, this type of defense is frowned upon as you come up through the kind of system. Coaches hate in where I'm from playing this type of defense because you'll find on balance is just not a sustainable way to play defense. And for every steal you get, you'll get 2 or 3 fouls. And yeah, the Bucks right now, they have the 6th highest foul rate or the number of fouls per game in the league. I'm not sure if those are the same thing. I'm just kind of like, like Giannis is a great example because he has some bad habits on this end too. Obviously, Bobby, we know, is very handsy. But like if Giannis puts his hands up when he's guarding people, that he'll get every stop in the world. Like no one will ever score on him if he just puts his hands out like a pterodactyl. But he's got this bad habit of like reaching in, and then guys just run through him. And Siakam was doing it heaps in the Pacers game. Yeah. And it just is such an easy fix. And, I'm not sure who I'm unsure if Greg Buckner tells them to do it or not to do it, or if they just ignore him. But I worry about Doc because I remember in a game against Orlando last year, they had won a late game against the Magic, and Gary Trent ended up like guarding Paolo Banchero, and Doc was talking about it after the game, and he's like, oh, Gary's like a boxer with his hands, and he's like getting all in there, and he's getting all handsy, and I'm like, that was kind of a red flag for me because I'm like, it's not a good thing. Like he could have easily fouled him there. This isn't like a good thing. So yeah, I wanted to talk about the reaching and then also the end of game offense, which hurt us again in today's game. But yeah, do you have any thoughts on kind of the way a lot of these guys play defense?
I think it's like a combo of there's still the overhelping as well. And I think that's part of what makes it frustrating is with the overhelping. It's like you don't need to dig down. Like if Giannis has a guy on the post, you do not need to come down and help with that. Or sometimes Giannis will do that as well, where he'll shade over a little bit too much as the help side defender, and then they can do a skip pass over. So I feel like that's part of it. But then I feel like AJ Green has really been racking up fouls, like not great. And sometimes I can't fully blame him. Like there was one during, I think, the Bulls game where Patrick Williams literally is like leaning over and putting his shoulder into AJ Green, and AJ Green's like backing off. And it's like, okay, sometimes you're just like, you can't expect him to do, like, he can't do much about that. But there has been plenty of times where AJ Green himself has just been racking up fouls. Gary Trent Jr., yeah, like the gambles that you were doing and the steals that were paying off in the first half, that stopped in the fourth quarter. And then it was kind of like, that's where it gets exposed. I'm like, it's good that you're finding these opportunities, and it's good that there's some aggression, but you also need to know when to dial back the aggression. And I think that's where, especially like in this game against the Rockets, where Trent and Green really have the issue. And then you look on someone like Kyle Kuzma, who's able to just stay with their defender, stay with the player, keep on them, and force bad shots. And Ryan Rollins is another great example of someone that does this, where Ryan Rollins will still go for it, but at the same time, he's still making sure to stay with the ball handler. And Miles Turner is still there trying to be a rim protector. So I think it's one of those where this was kind of the game where those gambles that paid off in the first half obviously weren't going to, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. I think that's the way I would describe it, is how and it's the same with the offense, and especially with the offense. And I've said that multiple times. I think with the defense, it's just an unsustainability, especially when you're allowing offensive rebounds at the rate that Milwaukee does. It does keep you more and more vulnerable. Now, granted, should Gary Trent Jr. be over here guarding Kevin Durant? Probably not. But if you are supposed to be the team's like best on-ball defender, supposedly, then you are going to have to get these assignments, and you're going to have to find a way to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw the duality of it in both the Sacramento game and tonight's game. Is like, I can't remember. I know Trent got some pick sixes in the first half of this game. I can't remember in the Sacramento game, but I remember late against the Kings, he was guarding DeRozan. They were down by 2, needed one stop. All you're asking for is to force them into a tough shot. That's all they're asking for. If they miss, great. If they make, then we can live with it. Okay?
Right.
And Gary Trent goes for a steal, and he gets 2 shots. And it's like, this is the stuff. It's like, can I count on you in this moment to just be solid? I don't need a steal. I don't need a pick 6. And that is the stuff that makes me really nervous about some of these players guarding at the end of games. And like you mentioned, Ryan Rollins and Kyle Kuzma don't do this. Like, you just don't really see it as much. And it's just like, yeah. And then you can talk about like the process at the end of the Rockets game. And it's like, why? I understand what they were trying to do with Giannis and doing inverted screens with Reed Shepherd in the action, but why the heck is Gary Trent Jr. the guy who's being guarded by Reed Shepherd? Like, that's if they think that we're going at Reed Shepherd, but Gary Trent Jr. is the one that's going to make the play, I guarantee the Rockets are like, great, awesome. And like, I just was confused about that process. But yeah, getting back to the defense, another thing that I've noticed about the defenders is why are we conceding we're conceding switches consistently that we don't need to concede? Like, I remember in the Pacers game, Giannis is the only person who can guard Siakam, and you want Giannis on Siakam as much as possible. Much in the same way that like when the Pacers have played the Bucks like the last 2 years, Nembhard does not leave Lillard, and they can do a screening action, and he's either going to blow the crap out of the screening action or he's going to get under and recover. But there's certain players that like we have one player who can guard Kevin Durant, Kuzma in a pinch, but you want it to be Giannis, and it would just be some like dummy. I'm not talking about a force switch. I'm talking about like just a kind of exchange of players, and Giannis is like, Miles Turner, go guard him. It's like, no, stay with Kevin Durant. Don't put Miles Turner on him. And then he did it like 3 times in the Pacers game where it's like Taurean Prince is kind of just in the area and he's like, go take Siakam. Siakam scores. And it's like in a game, in both of these games where it's like comes down to a matter of like points in the end of the game, you go throughout the game and obviously there's like the free throw problem and stuff. But like, yeah, it's just, there is like all these like opportunities where it's like, well, that's an easy 2 points that we didn't have to give up. Oh, right there. We didn't have to give up those 2 points because we just did something that we didn't need to do. And I felt like I'm like so many times in today's game where I'm like, why is Miles Turner guarding Kevin Durant? Like we can't do a hedge and recover and just keep Giannis on him. And it just confused me, like the process of like all of this stuff happening.
I think the Raptors game was also, and yes, I know fatigue was a part of the Raptors game, but it felt like fatigue was a part of it. And then the other part is just they just looked out of sorts. It felt like, yes, they would do things that was like, why are you doing this? And it just feels like the assignments again, like in the Raptors game, it's like Gary Trent Jr. is on Brandon Ingram. Why is Gary Trent Jr. on Brandon Ingram? Like, you're telling me, and this is again where kind of you can't put Andre Jackson Jr. out there. We can't just tell Giannis you're gonna have to stick with them because Toronto goes a lot smaller than most other teams. You couldn't, like, why is Gary Harris there if he is not supposed to be someone that can fill this role? And it's just like, part of it is on Doc where it's like these matchups don't make sense. But then the other part is, if you're going to do the switching, then the switching doesn't make sense in most situations. Like, if you have a lineup that makes sense to be switching, like if you have Kyle Kuzma and Giannis and then like Gary Trent Jr., AJ Green, Ryan Rollins, or when he comes back, like you have Kevin Porter Jr., Ryan Rollins, Gary Trent Jr., Giannis, Kyle Kuzma. Like, if you have those kind of lineups, then switching makes sense. But if you're going to throw Giannis and Miles Turner, there's no reason to be switching. You have to be able to fight through those screens.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is what makes it more confusing for me. And then it's like, okay, they're getting gashed and they're just allowing all these paint touches, so then they go to the zone. And I mean, zone is one of those where it's good to use as a throw you off, but it should not be sustained. You should not go to zone for, 6, 7, 8 minutes at a time. Like, zone should be okay, we're going to throw something out there out of a timeout. They're not going to expect it. Do that for, maybe a minute or two. And then you go away from it and go back to man and you're fighting through these screens.
Yeah, I've always thought that, like, I think I might have said this on a pod last season, but like zone, when you've got players who like gamble and aren't really like I don't know, principled defenders, I guess you could say, like it does, like people think that like the zone like insulates defenders like that because they, they're not necessarily bad defenders, but they like gamble and stuff. And it's like, no, it actually makes it worse because they don't have a player to account for.
Right.
Like they're kind of guarding a space. And I recall a play against the Pacers when they were kind of nursing that 9 to 11 point lead throughout like the early fourth. And they were doing a good job and they were getting good shots on offense as well. It's like Gary Trent's at the top of the zone and the guy from the wing passes it to the guy at the top. Gary Trent just goes for the steal, takes himself out of the play. The guy dribbles in. AJ Green has to come over from the other side, leaves Jarris Walker open for a 3. It's like, you know the game that we won by 2? that three would have been real nice, like if we didn't actually give that up. And so, yeah. And then like we can move this process conversation into kind of like the end of game offense. Now, I mean, this is something that kind of Bucks fans have been talking about for like last season. Like, it feels like the Bucks are like the worst team of like, what is the mismatch? Like, what is the plan at the end of games? Are we attacking a mismatch? Are we like, what is the goal? And to me, I don't know if this is harsh of me, but it seems that Doc has two goals at the end of games. Number one, that Giannis shoots the ball because he's the best player. And number two, that the ball is in the air as the clock goes off. I've listened to his press conferences. I've listened to him talk about this. And it just like, Doc just seems so into, we want to get the last shot. We want to get the last shot. But it's like, I remember at the end of the Pacers game, the Bucks were up 1 point. There was like 40 seconds on the clock, and with 8 seconds on the clock, Giannis shoots a three, and then AJ Green luckily got the rebound.
Yep.
And so thank God for that, and he made 1 out of 2, so that gave us a 2-point buffer. And the last shot kind of is what it is. I watched it again last night just to like study up for my notes for this podcast, and like the Pacers, there were going to be no rotations on that play because the Pacers had a switch all lineup. Everyone out there was going to switch. It was actually quite good coaching by Rick Carlisle. At the same time, I find it hard to believe with the greatest like athlete on the world and 4 shooters around him that shot, a turnaround fadeaway over 2 people was the best shot we could have got in that situation. And Giannis missed that same shot 4 times last season. He missed all. So if we want to be process over results, what is the process that we're trying to get to?
I think the weirdest part is you kind of knew once Giannis had the ball, it was going to be him shooting it. And I feel like that's kind of like you could have all the shooters, like all of them knew, like, okay, Giannis he's taking the shot. He's not kicking it out. He is going to take that last shot. And if it goes in, they win. If it doesn't, you go to overtime. That was the thought process, which, okay, fine. You want to give the ball to your best player. He made it, and that is great. But it definitely there was no rhyme or reason for it.
Yeah.
And I think the weirdest part, though, about that was it came down to the late game execution. If AJ Green makes both those free throws, then you have a 3-point lead and not a 2-point lead. So then if the Pacers were, it forces them to have to take a 3. But it was like those little details. And again, that's what I was saying. Like the Pacers game and the Rockets game could have easily have switched, where it's like we could have been talking about the Pacers game and it was like, how did Milwaukee's offense just completely fall apart at the worst time? And it still happened in the Rockets game, but it was, at least with the Rockets game, it was kind of like, okay, but they did enough to hold off for a victory. Instead of tonight, where I was like, nope, the offense completely fell apart and the defense could not get enough stops, and it is what it is. And I feel like the late game execution, I don't think they've really figured it out, because with the lineup that is there, the idea is, okay, Giannis does something, get some gravity, and you kick out to a shooter. But as we saw at the Pacers, they had 2 guys ready for Giannis. And I don't know, like, I feel like this is not sustainable, but at the same time, I don't know if there was ever a plan B. I don't know if there is a plan C, and I don't know if that is more of a Doc Rivers coaching thing or if that's a Giannis decision-making thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's always the big question, is it's kind of like the chicken and the egg of it all. But yeah, it's just like against the Pacers, like you got to think like, what shot are the Pacers popping champagne over you taking? Like, what shot are the Pacers going, great, he did exactly what we wanted? And those 2 shots, the final 2 shots for the Bucks at the end of that game, Pacers were popping champagne. The ball just went in. That's the only difference, right? Yeah. And so it's just like, I have written in my notes, I'm like, if Eric Spoelstra was the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, does our offense look the same at the end of games? And like
even Billy Donovan, like watching the Bulls game, and granted, Milwaukee was better, but watching the Bulls game and seeing how many cutters they had,
it was beautiful
that they were able to go through, and the big difference on that to me was kind of like it was such a stark difference to see how Chicago was running their offense and how Milwaukee was running their offense. But yeah, I think it would be completely different. Whether it's a good or bad thing, I don't know. But
yeah, and it's just like this is the thing. Like this is kind of the worry. We don't have to get into a meta conversation about Doc and like his limitations as a coach, but it's just like it feels like Doc is like kind of player coach, like good guy that like likes to keep the locker room in check and have good rapport with your stars and whatnot. And maybe this is why I'll never coach in the NBA. I don't care whether you're the 15th man or the first man on the roster. If you are like not executing and not doing your job, like I'll be unhappy with you regardless. Like, and I would hope that there is like I don't think there is, but like the accountability and yeah, it's just like it's like you said, like who is driving this kind of struggles at the end of games? Is it Doc or is it like something Giannis wants to do? Like handle the ball and stuff, and it just it's a tough one, but like it just I don't really have anything else to say. It's just like it's really it's tough to watch the team at the end of games right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, in my opinion, a lot of it is coaching. I equate it to soccer, and sometimes you have managers that are just there to maintain egos, and that's perfectly fine if that team has egos. Like, I think of Real Madrid. Like, when they had, like, Cristiano Ronaldo and Kareem Benzema, like, they had all these top-end world-class players. They didn't need someone to be like this tactical genius. They needed someone that can manage their ego and basically keep them in line. And that's where Carlo Ancelotti was great. But then if you have a team of guys that there's ego, but they need someone to actually tell them what they need to be doing. Carlo Ancelotti is not that guy. Like, he's not there. Like, he used to be that guy to be the tactical mastermind, but now, no, he's there to manage your ego. And I feel like that's the same thing with the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, Doc Rivers is there to manage egos. But this team is not really, there's not a lot of ego on this team. It's like, we know what the hierarchy pecking order really is. It's Giannis at the top. And then I feel like everyone else is on the same level. Like, Miles Turner is no more higher on the hierarchy than Ryan Rollins, than Andre Jackson Jr. Like, everyone should relatively be on that same hierarchy. And I think that's where the late game execution is also falling apart, is because it feels as though other than Giannis, there is no like, okay, like before you had Chris Middleton. Like, if Giannis didn't get the shot, you had Chris Middleton. Or if Giannis didn't have it, you had Dame. And now it's kind of like, it's not like Miles Turner is going to be able to create his own shot. It's not like Bobby Portis or AJ Green or Gary Trent Jr. can create their own shot. And that's where kind of having Kevin Porter Jr. might help them, is their ability to create their own shot.
Yeah, it's such an interesting conversation because it's like with Giannis, like I find myself doing this all the time, and it's like it's kind of like the kind of joke amongst kind of like Bucks fans is like, oh, Giannis had 36, 14 rebounds and 8 assists, and it's like we don't give him his due for like how incredible of a player he is, and it's like for me it's like two separate things. It's like I want to fully acknowledge that Giannis is like the most incredible basketball player I've ever seen, while also acknowledging, and this is also on Doc, that some of the decisions he makes are really bad, like, and they leave you saying like, that thing right there that you did, why'd you do it?
Yeah.
Why are you asking Torian Prince to switch onto Pascal Siakam? He should be hedging and recovering. Why are we taking a 3 with 28 seconds on the clock 28 seconds on the game clock in a game you're up 1? And we didn't pass the ball once on this possession. And by the way, to your point about the second best player thing, it's certainly interesting, and I agree to an extent, but I do believe that all of these guys can do things in a limited capacity. Like, can we get AJ Green flying off a double screen from the weak side, as Giannis is as Giannis is attracting some attention, let's say it's Giannis in that same position, but there's also some action happening off ball for AJ Green to catch the ball and shoot it, or can we get, Miles Turner setting a flare screen for one of these shooters or something like that. And I believe that they can be doing more, even if there's not like a set secondary guy like there was in the past. It's just like, can we draw something up more creative than Giannis shoots a mid-range shot? Because on balance, that shot's going to miss at the end of games. Like, it just is. And you're leaving it up to fate, kind of like how the game plays out from there, when it's like, I think what most fans are after is just like, can we get a shot where when they shoot it, you're like, okay, I can live with that. That's a good shot for us. And I just don't think that we get that much. Yeah. But I'm not sure if you had anything else to add, but it's kind of my main two gripes. Yeah.
No, I was thinking of I think it was a Kings game where it was like Gary Trent Jr. and AJ Green had good looks at the end of the game and they just couldn't hit it. And like, that's an example of like, they were open. You got it to the right guy, open for three. You want that shot. And it didn't go in, and that happens. Or like, if you have a wide open three with a reliable shooter, great. That's what the offense is supposed to do. And it doesn't happen. But yeah, the dribble for 20 seconds and then chuck up a mid-ranger, whether it's Giannis, Cole Anthony is very guilty of doing this as well.
Yep.
Ryan Rollins had moments where he was doing it, but thankfully those went in against the Warriors. Those are kind of ones where like, that can't be the best one. And I always think of like the Patrick Ewing meme of like, why you do that shot? When did you practice that shot? Like, when? And I feel like that's the thing with Giannis where I'm just like, why are you shooting this three? There's no need for you to shoot this three with 40 seconds left in the game.
Yeah. And then that, I just remembered I was kind of, I don't know, I checked the online reaction after the game because I had to speed through the game after I finished work today. There were a lot of people that were quite upset with how Giannis finished the game, other than his free throws shooting. And one of, or not upset, but, they were just critiquing it and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, the free throws are, he was doing well. It's not like, it was just like he was shooting well at the free throw line, and then it just didn't happen.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. That's a process. It's make, miss. He got to the line. You live with the results. What you can't live with is a one possession game. The Bucks are down 3. There's 40 seconds on the clock. All you need to do is get a stop. And Giannis is hounding Şengün all the way up the court. He tries twice for a steal, misses both times, and Şengün goes in for the layup. Why are we doing that? What's the thought process behind hounding a guy when we just need a stop? We're not trying to steal the ball or anything. Just need one stop, and then we can try and shoot a 3 down the other end, or get a quick 2 or whatever the deal is. And those are the things. It's just like, what again? Like, why?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's going to kind of transition into my next point.
Yeah,
where I'm afraid to say, because I feel like as soon as I say this, the wheels are going to completely fall off. But the Kyle Kuzma rehabilitation project is going really well. And I'm both shocked and impressed with it. I feel like him in this limited role has been doing so well. Like the fact that we are sitting here and saying, why was Kyle Kuzma not in the game at the end? Like, why did you take him out? Is a testament to Kuzma, first of all, because, look, I'm not going to act like I was his biggest fan. We saw glimpses of his defensive capability last year, and I feel like I said it to my fiance. I was like, when Kyle Kuzma has the ball is where I have the problem. But he shot the ball well, and I feel like he is on this path where if things go the way they are, worst case scenario, he is a reliable guy off the bench that you can have. Best case scenario, obviously great trade piece, or valuable person in the closing lineup. So I don't know. I'm in this weird situation where I was like, I don't know what to think of this Kyle Kuzma rehabilitation project, but it's going well.
Yeah, I mean, today he was. I don't know why he didn't close today. I think Doc got cold feet. But yeah, I mean, part of the reason they lost today was I'm looking on the court and like Kevin Durant is posting up Gary Trent, and I'm like, we're dead, we're screwed. Like why? Like this isn't going to work. And it's just like, he should have been in there to close the game. I mean, what was he? I don't have his stats up from today.
I think he was like 1 of 5. I think Jackson put in his recap. He was like 1 of 4, 1 of 5 or something in like the third quarter when Kuzma was guarding Durant.
Yeah. Who's today? What was he? Yeah, 3 of 6 from 3, 4 of 7. I mean, generally you don't want you'd want him taking more 2s than 3s, but obviously like you take that, but only 7 shots. I thought he played a really good game. He was +4 in his minutes. This is 2 games in a row now where they've looked way better with him at the 3 with a bigger lineup, being able to guard those, bigger players. Like he guarded Giddey really well down the end of that game. He did a good job on KD today. And I totally agree. Like it's crazy. Like you're kind of like thinking like before the season, you're like, oh God, like please don't ever play Kuzma at the 3. And now with like a combination of how like kind of like within himself and composed he's playing, while also acknowledging that like Gary Trent really has not had a good year thus far. It's kind of like, do they just bite the bullet and start a bigger lineup and try and dominate on defense and just hope the 3s go through? I can't answer that question. I don't know what the answer is, but it's a testament to his kind of approach this season that it's worth being asked at this point.
Yeah, I think if you were to start at the 3, it should hopefully help with the rebounding. And I think that's also one of the bigger areas where Milwaukee is struggling is rebounding. I think Kuzma would be a benefit for that. I also think there is something of maybe the like limiting, because I feel like one of the issues last year was there's just too much Kyle Kuzma. And I think with him starting, and it felt like because it was the midseason acquisition and him starting, maybe there was just too much Kyle Kuzma, and maybe this role is exactly what he needs, and where you don't keep him, like you don't have him out too long, because obviously there is the possibility that the wheels fall off. But I don't know. I feel like this is where I keep going back to, what's the purpose of Gary Harris? What is why are we not playing Andre Jackson Jr.? What's the purpose of Gary Harris? What's the purpose of Amir Coffey if we don't have a guy at the 3 that can guard? Because with Taurean Prince now out, who knows how long, with his neck injury, it is kind of this weird, like, okay, if Gary Trent Jr. if Gary Trent Jr. and AJ Green, if they can't get it done, who else are you relying on? And this is kind of like you had Amir Coffey, you have Gary Harris, you have Andre Jackson Jr. supposedly, and they're all in limited minutes. So then, do you go Kyle Kuzma at the 3? It didn't work last year, so I don't want to feel like that should be the solution. But it feels like maybe depending on the matchup, it's a good idea with someone that is going to have the ball, like a Kevin Durant, Karl Anthony Towns, Pascal Siakam even. Then, maybe having Kyle Kuzma out there and just sticking him on them works instead of having Gary Trent Jr. But in a game against like Sacramento, that's probably not going to work because you have Levine and DeRozan and Sabonis, all guys who can take the shots. Or with the Raptors, you have Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram. So it's kind of tougher. But if there is like a team that has a singular offensive force, like if they were to play if they were to play Phoenix, just throw Kyle Kuzma and Devin Booker and let everyone else do what they need to. So maybe it's just very matchup dependent.
Yeah, couple things. So on the kind of Kuzma Renaissance tour, whatever we want to call it.
I'm calling it the rehabilitation project.
Yeah. So I think just like, I don't know, I think they may have made this point on Locked On Bucks on an episode I was listening to. Maybe I'm imagining that. But it felt like he came from Washington in a situation where he had no accountability for himself and the people around him. Like it was a losing environment. It's just like, do whatever you want. They were a team that's kind of like trying to lose while he's trying to get his points and get to a good team or whatever. And it felt like, I don't know, maybe that was he took that attitude into Milwaukee, and then especially in the playoff series against the Pacers. I mean, that was a massive humbling for him, being like, look, I'm coming off the bench and I'm going to star in this role. I'm going to make the best out of this situation. And I think his attitude is part of the reason that he's playing better, and he's not trying. We've had less of the kind of record scratch, like Kuzma takes on two guys and tries to do a Giannis, on the fast break or whatever.
He's even finishing at the rim pretty solidly.
Yes, that's the funniest part. It's like last season he get all the way to the rim and he just clang it off the backboard or bounce it off the back rim or whatever. Like he had the weirdest finishing numbers last season. He is finishing much better this season. And then, by the way, just on the Gary Harris of it all, I'm like 99% convinced this was an agent favor. For getting Miles. Him and Miles Turner have the same agent. And I'm like, there's just no reason why Gary Harris is on the team because he's literally just a guy. Like, he's not part of the future. He's not part of the present. He just kind of sits on the bench. And it's just like, I don't know. I'm convinced that he's just like, look, if Miles signs with you, like the agent had a lot of leverage because like if the Bucks didn't sign Miles, Bobby Portis was the starting center. And we would have the worst defensive rating in the entire league if that was the case. So if Miles Turner signs with you, along with a healthy pay bump that he was getting from the Bucks, you will sign my guy Gary Harris on a 1+1 with a player option. So he will be back in the Cream City.
More like, all right,
yeah. You can bet your bottom dollar Gary Harris will be wearing a Bucks jersey next season as well. So and but to your point, kind of like all of these guys, Amir Coffey, Gary Harris, like these are not starting small forwards. And so I understand the route of like starting two shooting guards at the 2 and the 3. But I was also thinking like when KPJ comes back, are we sure him and Rollins don't start together? Are we sure?
I feel like you can't bench Ryan Rollins with how he's playing.
Yep.
Like you can't bench him. So then your options are, and I feel like what I could see happening, you start KPJ and Ryan Rollins, you keep Gary Trent Jr. at the 3, and AJ Green comes off the bench because a part of the issue with the Bucks defense is AJ Green is racking up so many early fouls and getting into foul trouble. So I think maybe this is a way to keep him out of the foul trouble a little bit earlier as a possibility because I don't know what you do. Either Kevin Porter Jr. comes off the bench or you move one of AJ Green or Gary Trent Jr. to the bench to have KPJ and Rollins start. Like you can't have Ryan Rollins out of the starting lineup at this point.
No, you can't. Rollins has to stay in there. Here's the other thing. It's like not only on offense, like it's interesting. Like Rollins is probably a better spot up guy, so you might have to like shift the kind of on-ball responsibilities to KPJ and allow him to kind of like slice into the lane and dish it out. Part of me thinks that having more guys that can kind of do multiple things on the court isn't necessarily a bad thing, even if like KPJ shooting off the catch is worse than Gary Trent off the catch. If you get what I mean. But the main thing that I've been thinking about is they look so damn small out there. And KPJ, he's 6'7". So you just chuck another 6'7" guy with long arms. I believe he has like a 6'11" wingspan or something.
Yeah, he has a 6'11" wingspan. I think Ryan Rollins has like a near 7-foot wingspan as well.
So you just you replace, I believe Trent and Green are both like 6'3", and that might be charitable. AJ Green, he might be like 6. I think he might be like 6'1" or 6'2". I don't know, but I mean, it's just by virtue of you chuck another 6'7" guy out there, and like he's a guy where it's like, all right, you want to attack KPJ with Brandon Ingram? I feel much better about that than I do Gary Trent or AJ Green. So, I think when KPJ comes back, it's going to help, like, regardless of who's out there, like having another creator to kind of do stuff is going to help. But I think the idea of starting Rollins and KPJ is becoming more and more real than we all considered it would be at the start of the season.
Yeah, I I feel like that it's going to be interesting because I feel like I feel like that has to be the move unless you bring KPJ off the bench. And I feel like you can start both KPJ and Ryan Reynolds because you still have Cole Anthony that's getting minutes who can come in and pretty much handle initiating the offense if Giannis isn't on the court. So it's kind of one of those where it's not a bad idea to at least test that out. Whether Doc does that is where I'm unsure because I feel like he's not going to want to rock and change too much. I don't know. I feel like logically in my head, you start both, but I could see Doc having Kevin Porter Jr. come off the bench and then maybe turning around and getting him in the starting lineup and then moving one of AJ Green or Gary Trent Jr. Because, I mean, he did that last year. Like, he started with Gary Trent Jr. and then he was struggling and moved Gary Trent Jr. to come off the bench.
Yeah.
Even after Andre Jackson Jr. was showing signs of falling, like fading away. So Doc might have it in him. It's just whether I just don't know when/if it's the best idea. And hopefully he's not going to try and shoehorn like Kyle Kuzma in the 3. And he hopefully doesn't do what he did last year and have Kyle Kuzma at the 3, Gary Trent Jr. at the 2. Torian Prince at the 2.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really have anything else to add. It's just like about finding those kind of combinations and Kuzma at the 3. That's Kuzma starting at 3 again really does scare me.
I feel like all the goodwill he's built up will go.
Yeah. If the shoe, if the shoe fits, then I don't know. It could be an option, but it just does underscore how big of a hole that small forward position at this team is. Like, if we could get a good 3, oh my god, it's like that meme where it's like society if this happens. It's like the spaceships and the all the futuristic stuff, and like that's society if the Bucks got a good small forward.
John Horst, you have some work to do. I feel like John Horst is going to try and find someone to fill that gap. I mean, it's likely it might have to be a minimal trade, kind of like what he did last year, where he just has a throwaway player, whether it is Andre Jackson Jr. I don't think it's going to be Victor Oladipo. I know he's signed with the Herd. It is not Victor Oladipo. Let's just end that right there. Just need to get that out there. But maybe it could be a move like that, where it is kind of like throwing Andre Jackson Jr. and like a scrap of like a second round pick in 2040 for like some relative, like some struggling / not as name dropping 3.
Yeah, I think if this season has taught us anything, is that like you don't the whole Giannis and like needs like big names around him. Like, just get guys who can fit. And I'm very nervous about John. I mean, this is another meta conversation that we don't have time to really have today. But like, I'm nervous about him including future first round picks in like a mid-season deal this season. Just like I'd prefer like try and get a 3. Do what we can. Maybe you have to cast off like, I don't know, it can't be Rollins now, but you know, does Ajax have any value? That's the other problem. We don't really have too many assets, but like
I feel like Ajax is going to be in the same area as Marjan, where it's just a dude you're just throwing in and just getting whatever salvage parts at that point.
It's just like, can we get a 6'8" guy who can shoot threes and play a bit off the dribble? Like, can we get like a Sadiq Bey? Can we get Sadiq Bey from New Orleans? Someone like that. Can we? Those are the type of names where it's like, okay, that's like a good middle ground between like, okay, we're improving the team, but we're also not like, blowing all our assets on someone who's not worth it or whatever like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like on lower tier. I'm like, there's got to be someone on the Nets. Like, they got a bunch of rookies and like young players. They've like maybe there's one there that just like actually we're out.
Yeah, we got to wrench one of these guys out of like a struggling team or something.
Like, I don't know what Zaire Williams, like maybe him. Like, I don't know. He's young. Like I don't think he's doing that much for Brooklyn, right? I mean, I say that he's probably got like 18 points a game for the
Yeah.
Nets or something. Or I don't know. Like that's like a guy I'd thought of off the top of my head, but we'll see. I don't know. I feel like there's not much else. I feel like the tough part is like trying to figure out what this team, we kind of know what the flaws are. And it's just now a matter of, is that going to fix those flaws, or is that going to have to be a John Horst solution?
Yeah.
But
no, I agree.
All right. We're going to go over to the miscellaneous. I will let you provide an update on how things are going down there. And I know last week it was kind of a solid week. And did things go well? I think that's the question I'm going to start with.
Yeah. It was interesting. I was actually going to cross over a little bit into your film review section because I just didn't want to be bored with the basketball. Yeah, I was going to talk about a show I watched on Netflix, but I will provide like a 2-minute update on the 36ers. They played the Perth Wildcats. Sorry, this week they played the New Zealand Breakers and the Perth Wildcats. New Zealand are bad, and they dispense of New Zealand. It was closer than it should have been. They kind of like capitulated in the end, and they were up about 9 with like a minute 40 to go, and then proceeded to like have 3 live ball turnovers in a row in the backcourt. So they ended up winning that game by 4, and then they lost yesterday to the Perth Wildcats by 6. And that was an interesting game because it was Bryce Cotton not returning to Perth. The game was played in Adelaide, but that was Bryce Cotton playing against his former team.
Okay.
And there was a lot of kind of scuttlebutt about he said on a podcast that Perth, I don't know, like blindsided him or whatever because they wanted to rush his decision on whether he wanted to resign there. And they gave him a deadline and he thought that was disrespectful. And so there was a bit of beef there. Yeah, I actually did want to. Have you watched what's it called? Nobody Wants This, or Nobody Wanted This? Yes, on Netflix. That show, so they just released the 2nd season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That show is a masterpiece, dude. It is just so funny, like with the kind of like, you're just atheist kind of like outlook on like people that are atheists and then like joining into like a very like Jewish family. I don't really know anything about like Judaism or whatever, but it was so funny to me.
We watched it last week and we finished. I think we watched the whole season in like a day and a half. Like we started season 2 Friday, we were done Sunday afternoon. But I did enjoy the season. I feel like season 1 was better.
Yeah,
but I think for me, the main story of season 2 was not that interesting. Like I'm just whatever with Joanne, and I'm already forgetting the guy's name.
Yeah, what's the guy's name again?
The rabbi.
Noah.
Yeah. I feel like I'm already like, I'm getting bored of this cycle of like, they're in love. They run into a situation. Oh yeah. They have to have this big talk about like, are you going to convert or like whatever. It's like,
yeah.
Things clearly it's not going to work. They fix it. They're in love. And it's like, that was like the whole theme that season. I was just like, okay, like how many times are we going to go through this? So like that part was whatever. I didn't care for it this much this season, but I think the other stories, I think Esther's character growth was really, really good. Like she went from, okay, she's just a bitch and not interesting to like, oh, it started like, okay, she's very skeptical, and then she's still kind of that, but you start seeing like the more understand like why she is the way she is. And I did enjoy that. I think also I thought that Sasha and Morgan were going to be a couple. Like I was like, they're gonna get together or they're gonna do something, and it never happened. I was like, oh, pleasantly surprised. I think it'll happen next season. I think that's like going to happen.
You think there'll be another season?
I feel like they have to have one more season.
Yeah.
Because I feel like how it was left off, there's still like a lot of questions between like, okay, so like, are they actually going to make it work? Like, is she actually going to be like full on getting into the Judaism that he wants and accepts? And then obviously you still have Sasha and Esther, they're going to go their separate ways and basically split. You still have Morgan and whether like she just went and ended an engagement. Like, what's she going to do? We still have like Noah's mother. Like, that's still a sub character and plot towards it. So I feel like it was a good season. Like, it was not as good as season 1, but I think season 1 was so great. Like, if season 1 was like a 9 out of 10, I would give season 2 like a 7.5.
Yeah.
And I think again, a lot of it is because the main story around Joanne and Noah was just like, I don't care for that. Like, it's a boring cycle.
Yeah. I feel like I should have like introduced what the show is about as I started.
I could have done that. Basically, the show is this girl, and she has a podcast with her sister, and they basically talk about modern dating in the modern age and how it sucks, because it really does. And then she meets this guy Noah. He's a rabbi. He's very Jewish, and he was supposed to be like this. He was supposed to get like this head rabbi job at the church that he's going to, but because he starts dating Joanne, she's not Jewish, so there's a big issue, and that's pretty much they're trying to figure out. And then they have like other characters, so like Noah's brother, Sasha, he's married to Esther, but Sasha and Morgan's sister, Sasha and Joanne's sister, Morgan start getting like close, so that bothers, and then Noah's parents do not approve of Joanne. And Joanne's parents are a mess of their own. Like,
we don't have to go into all that, but yeah.
Basically, Joanne's mom is, I don't even know how to describe her, and Joanne's dad is gay, and I think that's what leads to their parents.
But they're hilarious characters.
They're the perfect comedic relief. They're just the right amount.
Yes, and the element of comedic relief is like when you put it like that, with like how Joanne and Noah kind of go in the same kind of. I didn't think about that, but now that you put it that way, I'm like, yeah, you were kind of right about that.
Episodes, it was like, it was like every time that cycle happened, it was like a 2-episode cycle.
But then like you mean like the comedic relief of kind of all the other characters. Like Sasha is one of the funniest characters I've ever watched, and and how him and like Esther, his wife Esther, interact is just hilarious. But yeah, sorry for kind of dumping that on you. But
no, that's fine, because I was going to say I did have a slight filter. It was just going to be about this season's Great British Bake Off, but I'll save that for another episode.
Yeah,
because that season, Great British Bake Off, I put it in Blue Sky. I was like, that was the equivalent of like the U.S. women's basketball team in the Olympics. Like, it was dominant. I will talk about that next episode. But no, Nobody Wants to season 2 was good. Check it out on Netflix. I think it is one of those shows like you can easily binge it too. I think that's also the appeal of it, is you can binge a season in.
It's not too like wishy-washy that it's just like air and it's just boring, but also it's not too deep that it's like you can't, like, every time I'll compare it to this. Every time I watched an episode of Ozark when it came out, I had to give myself like 2 days before I watched another one, because it was just like, who got freaking killed this time, and who
another show like that, Succession.
Yeah, I haven't watched. Succession is not a Netflix show, right?
No, that's on HBO.
Yeah,
that was on HBO.
So all I have is Netflix, but yeah, there are certain shows that you're just like, you finish it and you're just like, gonna give myself a couple days after that one. But this show is just kind of the right kind of like, you can watch however many episodes you want. Yeah,
easily breeze through. I feel like obviously it being 20 minutes, also like 20. Like, I feel like the episodes are like short enough, like 25 to 40 minutes as well, which helps, because then it's like you can get through each episode quickly.
Yeah.
All right, and then we will end it with our predictions. So this upcoming week, by the time you're listening to us, the Bucks are probably playing tonight against the Dallas Mavericks, and then Wednesday they will continue the road trip. They'll go to Charlotte, where they will play the Hornets. Friday they will play the Hornets again, this time in Milwaukee for the NBA Cup. And then Saturday is going to be at home against the Lakers. So, Jack, I will let you go first. What is your prediction for the week?
Okay, so you said it was Dallas, Charlotte, LA.
Yep.
Correct? Okay.
Yep. And then Dallas and the first two, Dallas and Charlotte, that will be on the road. And then Friday and Saturday will be at home.
Kind of has to be a 3-1. You reckon like Dallas look doo-doo right now. Like you should be getting that win.
And I mean, we don't know if Anthony Davis is going to play.
Yes, that's the thing. I was going to ask. Yeah.
Anthony Davis is questionable. Derek Lively is doubtful. Daniel Gafford is questionable.
Right,
so
okay. As long as AD doesn't play, like we should be able to get that win, I feel like. And then the Charlotte team, I mean, if the Bucks are who they say they are, as kind of like a, bottom end of the playoff, like a guaranteed top, like bottom end of the top 6 is what I'm trying to say, sort of team, or maybe even top end. But at a minimum, if they're a top 6 playoff team, you got to be getting 2 wins against Charlotte. Like no ifs or buts about it. Obviously containing LaMelo, like LaMelo is always like, he could just drop 40 and 12 assists and you could lose, but
he could drop 40 and 12 assists and no one else does anything.
Yes. And so those are 2. Yeah. So I'm going to say 3-1. I believe Austin Reeves missed the Lakers last game, but I did read somewhere that he wants to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's going to return at some point on the road trip, and that's a good amount of time before we play them. So yes, I feel like that Lakers game, like Reeves and Luka are just killing teams right now. So I feel like if it's just Luka, I think I would tip us to go 4-0. But if it's Reeves plays, yeah, you probably say 3-1. I think they got a chance of losing that game. So yeah, put me down to 3-1.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 3-1. Dying over here. I think they should win both the games against the Hornets. That's no excuse. The Hornets are not a good team. Dallas does not look good. 80 or no 80, I still think they should win that one. I'm going to say they lose to the Lakers just because that will be another game on a back-to-back, and I think that's going to. And as we saw in Toronto, it's not always in the Bucks' favor. The good news is that game is not at matinee time, so it will be 7 p.m. tip-off, which is good. But I'm going to say 3-1. I think they beat the Mavericks, get both games against the Hornets, and then I think they'll just come up short against the Lakers because I think Austin Reeves will be healthy, and Luka is. I feel like that's going to be hard to figure out who's going to guard Luka.
Oh yeah, they put. I believe they put Kuzma on him last time, and he did. I mean, I think Luka still dropped.
He's still going to drop like 30, 12.
Yeah, in that game, I feel like Luka dropped close to like 50 points or something. Nobody else did literally anything in that game. I think I don't even think. I think Reeves played, but I don't think he played well at all. So yeah, you kind of just have to put someone big on him, and again, keep your hands out because he will draw a foul every time if you put your hand in the cookie jar. So there is literally no point in trying. This is the other thing the other point that I should have made at the start of this podcast is that these guys are NBA players, the greatest basketball players in the world. You're not stealing the ball from them.
Yeah.
Like as much as people want to try, like you may get one steal, but like on balance, you're just gonna foul them. So yeah, keep your hands out on Luka and give yourself a chance to just make him shoot a tough shot.
Yeah, that would be the thought. Oh, LaMelo Ball is also hurt. Yeah, no.
Oh, great. Awesome.
The Hornets, I looked at the injury report just for tomorrow's game between the Lakers and the Hornets. Like Austin Reeves is questionable. And then it's like for the Hornets, LaMelo Ball out, Josh Green out, Brandon Miller out, Miles Bridges questionable. Yeah, Milwaukee, Grant Williams, like Milwaukee, you need to win those games. So we're going to say 3-1. And that's going to be fine. But that will do it for this episode of Dear Diaries. Make sure to like and subscribe on whatever podcast app you listen to us on. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube as well to watch the video version of this. We will continue with our game previews, our rapid recaps, our player grades as well, and also look for some Wisconsin Herd updates as the Herd tip off their season. As we mentioned, Victor Oladipo signed with the Herd. So I don't know if Unk still got it, but we'll find out. Otherwise, we appreciate it, and we will talk to you next time.